Lawyers who found out their client was guilty mid-trial? What did you do? I'd been defending Raymond Whitmore for 3 months when I realized I was helping a monster walk free. Raymond was accused of murdering his business partner Victor, and honestly, the evidence against him was circumstantial at best. No murder weapon, no eyewitnesses, just a messy financial dispute, and Raymond's fingerprints in Victor's office where he admitted he'd been dozens of times before. Raymond swore on his dead mother's grave that he was innocent. He cried in my office. He showed me pictures of his kids. He told me Victor was like a brother to him and that the real killer was still out there. I believed every single word. My wife even invited Raymond and his family over for dinner because she felt so bad for him. I was so confident in his innocence that I took the case pro bono, thinking this would be the wrongful accusation case that defined my career. The prosecution's case was falling apart by day 4 of the trial. Their forensic expert contradicted himself twice, and I had successfully planted reasonable doubt about the timeline. Raymond sat next to me looking relieved, occasionally dabbing his eyes with a handkerchief for the jury's benefit. During the lunch recess, I went to grab my briefcase from the courtroom, and that's when I heard Raymond's voice coming from the hallway. He was on the phone, speaking quietly, but the acoustics carried every word. I froze behind the door. He was laughing, actually laughing. Then he said the words that made my blood turn to ice. Nah, this idiot lawyer actually believes I didn't do it. Victor begged like a dog before I put him down. 3 more days and I'm a free man. My hands started shaking so violently I dropped my briefcase. The sound echoed and Raymond went silent. I picked it up and walked out like I hadn't heard anything, but my mind was racing. I'd shaken this man's hand. I'd let him eat at my table with my wife and children. I'd vouched for his character in front of 12 jurors who trusted my judgment. But here's the thing about being a defense attorney that most people don't understand. I couldn't just quit. Attorney-client privilege meant I couldn't tell anyone what I heard. If I withdrew from the case without a valid reason the judge would allow, Raymond would get a mistrial and probably walk anyway. I was legally trapped into defending a confessed murderer who thought I was too stupid to figure it out. I spent that entire night researching every legal option I had. There weren't many. But then I remembered something Raymond had told me during our first meeting. He'd mentioned that Victor had installed hidden cameras throughout the office after a break-in the previous year. The prosecution never found any footage because the system backed up to an encrypted cloud server, and they couldn't access it without the password. Raymond had seemed smug when he told me this, like he knew the evidence of his innocence was locked away forever. But if there was footage, it wouldn't show his innocence. It would show his guilt. The next morning, I called Victor's widow and asked if she knew anything about her husband's security system. She told me Victor kept all his passwords in a leather journal in their bedroom safe, a journal the police never thought to request. The prosecution rested their case that Thursday, and it was my turn to present Raymond's defense. Raymond squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "Knock him dead, counselor." I stood up and said 4 words that wiped the smirk off his face forever. The defense calls one witness, Mrs. Patricia Holloway, Victor's widow. Raymond's eyes went wide. Patricia took the stand clutching her husband's leather journal. I asked her about the security system, the cloud backup, and the password. Then I requested a recess to allow the prosecution to access the footage I'd just discovered. Raymond grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. "What are you doing?" he hissed. I leaned in close. "Providing you the most vigorous defense the law requires. If that footage shows you're innocent, you're free. If it doesn't, well, I guess we'll both find out together." His face went white because he knew exactly what was on those cameras. The footage showed Raymond beating Victor to death with a golf trophy while Victor begged for his life. Raymond got life without parole, and I got disbarred for 6 months for what the ethics board called creative interpretation of advocacy duties.